Hey guys, thanks so much for stopping in. I sure appreciate it. I have all of my Natasha Denona palettes in front of me, and I kind of want to rank them and see where they fall. So I've gotten a good thorough use out of every single one of them, and so I think it's time that we rank them. Alrighty, y'all, I have 8 Natasha Denona palettes, some of the midi size, the 15 pans, and a few of the 5 pans, so the minis. So I kind of have a mixture here. I decided to rank them all together. I have used every single one of these numerous times. I know that I've done no pan left behind on all of these, so I know for a fact I've used every shade at least twice, and I feel comfortable ranking them at this point. And so let's just kind of go ahead and see where these 8 Natasha Denona palettes fall. But before we get into that ranking, I just want it to be crystal clear that I don't dislike any of these palettes. They are in the order that they are based on my preference of color story, my preference of application, and depth. It's just all personal preference to me. So, let's go ahead and get started here. Number 8 coming in at the bottom is the Natasha Denona Peak palette. I've kind of talked about this a couple times already. I really like that it's matte heavy. I think, yes, this is the only shimmer in the palette. These are beautiful colors. This just doesn't translate to the color that it looks like in the pan. So it does throw off the look that I intend to create. But if I were, ooh, I just stuck my whole hand in that shade. Isn't that lovely? But if I were to eliminate this shade right here, I think I would probably rank this just a little bit higher. But considering what I've got in front of me, this one's going to come in at number 8. Coming in at number 7, it might be a little surprising if you know my favorite color story, but it is the Natasha Denona Gold, or Mini Gold, excuse me, the Mini Gold palette. The reason this one's coming in as low as it is just because I like the color stories ahead of it a little bit better, but I do wish that this was a true matte. It's kind of like a satiny shade. Also, I wish there was a slightly lighter color. As much as I do enjoy this palette and really like it, I feel like there's just something missing. I don't know. I always make a look and I like it, but I don't love it, which is odd considering that I love these tones and these shades, but I just can't ever be fully satisfied with the look I create. So while I like it, I don't absolutely love it. Number 6, the I Need a Nude palette. Kind of surprising, right? The reason that this one is coming in where it is just because even though there is some depth, everything kind of looks the same. I feel like while I can get a little bit more of a brown look, I can get a little more of like a pinky taupey look, everything kind of comes out very light and very subtle, which again, I understand is the point of the palette, but just in my personal preference, again, of how I like to wear my eyeshadow, sometimes I like a little more drama. This is great for those soft, subtle days, but I just like a little more range. Number 5, kind of the same concept as the one before it, but I just like these tones a little bit more, is the Glam palette here. And this one has more of a neutral but deeper color story. I can get a lot more deeper shades. I've got some more mid-tone and some lighter shades. This one, though, is very shimmer heavy. I believe there is only 5 matte, which are going to be these 2 right here and then these 3 right here. So that kind of is why it's in the middle here. I really love the color story. And now that I've gotten a taste of her more metallic formulas, her new Wet Effect formulas, I wish those were in this palette. However, the shimmers are fine. They're just not quite as I like in her newer palettes. So this is coming in at number 5. I had to count. Sorry. So these top 4 were exceptionally hard for me to decipher between. I was pretty confident in those bottom 4, but these top 4, I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I don't know how many times. So honestly, I think if you were to ask me tomorrow, it might be a little bit different. But here's what I've settled on for today. Coming in at number 4 is the Retro palette. I love this palette. It was a huge hit for me in February. I still kind of want to keep using it, so I don't know that I'm necessarily done with it just yet. I might got this curl kind of bugging me. I might drag this back out in April because I really enjoyed this color story and I do want to play with it some more. I feel like I just didn't get enough out of it. So I really like the range and the depth of this one. There is a lot of cream to powder formula shades in this one. That doesn't bother me. I'm fine with that particular formulation, but just as a heads up, it does have a lot of cream to powders, but I just love that you have exceptionally light shades in both matte and shimmer, and then you have a bunch of mid-tone shades in matte and shimmer, and then you have deep tones in mattes and shimmers. I just love the depth and the range that I have with this palette, and these tones are beautiful, but it is very berry toned heavy, so I think that's why it's number 4 out of the top 4, just because I feel like I have to really be in the mood for berry tones, and that may not always be the case, so it's not quite as wearable as the ones ahead of it. Number 3 is actually a mini, and it is the Mini Nude. I'm a warm tone neutral lover. Actually, you know, I keep saying like my favorites are warm tone neutrals, and then I say my favorites are greens, and then I say my favorites are berry tones. I need to stop saying everything is my favorite. Everything is my favorite, but I do have a tendency to gravitate toward warm neutrals. And this one, even though it's only got 5 pans, I feel like I can create a pretty wide range of looks with this one. If I put this one in the crease in the outer corner, that's kind of like my go-to with this one. But I can really rev it up with the shade choice. So I can put this one in for a much warmer look. I can put this one in for a much more subdued, neutral, natural style look, or I can add this in there for some depth. So, but these 3 shimmers can really give it some varying depths and varying styles, which I can really appreciate in a 5 pan, and it's warm neutrals. So number 3. Number 2 is the My Dream palette. This one really surprised me, y'all. I'll be honest. It surprised the heck out of me. I really like this one. I like that I have some options with the berry tones in here with this side of the palette. I love that there's a matte black in this one as well. And then I like how I can get warm neutrals, or I can get some true neutrals. The diversity in this palette really is quite incredible. I'm like holding it right against my face. I'm not sure why, sorry. But the diversity in this one really is quite incredible. Like I said, I can get a berry tone look, I can get a true neutral look, I can get a warm neutral look. It's great. It really is just wonderful. And I delayed picking up this palette initially because I was like, yeah, I don't need it. I don't need it. I thoroughly regret not picking it up sooner because it really is a great palette. I've said it like twice already, but the diversity is what really gets me. The range in this that you can get. It's just a beautiful palette. Yeah, it's just, you know, it's number 2. And number 1, I know is no surprise. Yucca. I'm not going to go on and on about this one because y'all have heard me go on and on about this one. But the range and depth of the greens in this one is really exciting. You've got your like baby puke greens in here. You've got like your crack brown or your crack greens and browns in here. I do appreciate that it is matte heavy. The only thing that I personally find hard to work with on this palette is this shimmer shade because it's like a cool toned grayish blue, and I find it hard to create a look with it. I really do. I'm not gonna lie. I find it hard to incorporate this one, so I am really eager to try and match that with some other shades, like maybe this one in here, and maybe some of these guys in here. I just don't have the creativity level to add that into a look, so I'm really anxious to give it a shot and play with it. But yeah, so this one comes in at number 1. Is that a shock to anybody? Really? So right now I just have those 8 palettes. I do have a little bit of a collector's mentality, and because I do really love Natasha Denona's formula, I'm constantly watching for some of her older palettes to go on sale. So this might actually expand, and if it does, I'll do a new ranking later on. But this one was short, sweet, and to the point because it's just 8 quick palettes. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me today, and I look forward to seeing you in my next one. Later much!